crois que tu vois quelque chose là? Non, il y en a un dans le frais. C'est là-bas. D'accord?
And they brought a tow truck and a crane to remove the vehicle. At which point I just moved, and it was fairly easy. I mean, there was no real police blockade or anything like that. It was stopping me from doing my work. I guess I was very discreet because I was not carrying 20 cameras around my neck and, and swim into the world and let me go through. I'm a journalist, I have rights, blah, blah, blah. I was just making my way slowly to where I was supposed to be able to see. And I shot some pictures from the overhead as the car was pulled out of the tunnel on that flatbed truck. And it turns out, I think, over my 30 years at the Associated Press, that might be the worst picture I ever shot, but also the most published picture I ever shot. Because of its, I guess, its historical value to some extent. I had that honor, if you want, if you call it that way. I'm not sure it's the right word, but I had that privilege. I had that opportunity to tell history on both sides of the channel. From the accident that caused the death of the People's Princess to her funeral and to the hundreds of thousands of flowers around Kensington Palace and the tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of people, lining up the road for a funeral procession. And that was very, very, very moving.
Voilà, on était là. Le premier souvenir, c'est le ciel nous est tombé sur la tête. Ça a été, en tant que journaliste, on prévoit un peu tous les événements qui peuvent arriver. Diana ne faisait pas partie de la liste parce que, pour tout le monde, c'était une icône, donc une icône ne meurt pas. Donc quand minuit passé, le téléphone a sonné et on m'a annoncé la nouvelle, je dois dire que je suis resté perplexe. C'est pas possible, ça ne peut pas arriver, c'est impossible. On est en train de me faire une blague.
We did not know how bad the accident was for Diana. Again, it was hard to fathom. It was hard to process that she could be mortally wounded in this accident. We first heard that she was being treated for injuries. And then, of course, a couple hours into the morning, she was declared dead at the hospital. There was a huge crowd of journalists at that point in the hospital. I was taking a feed from a colleague there. There were just shocked silence, I think.
And then I went to the hospital, Salpêtrière, where Diana was taken. And there we were watching as the flowers and the mourners were gathering outside, and we're waiting for news, waiting to hear something from the hospital. And it seemed like hours, and it was hours. And finally, they called a press conference before sunrise. And there the anesthesiologist was describing all the medical procedures that they went through to try to revive her. It was sort of painstaking. It took a while, and we thought, okay, well, is she alive? Is she dead? And then finally, at this long description, he said we were unable to revive her. And we declared her deceased at at a certain time. I think it was 4 a.m. And there was this moment of silence, this sort of pause that the way I felt was that princesses don't die this way anyway, do they? And that just sort of moment, and then everybody scrambled for their phones, but that sort of moment of denial was quite moving, actually.
Avancer la voiture légèrement.
They say we're not to go through the gates. We'll just get them going through the gates.
Because every moment of that week, those 7 days from the early morning of that Sunday, August 31st, to Diana's burial at her ancestral home in Althorpe, 75 miles north of London. It was just dramatic, but it was a human telling of history. And when I look back at my 42 years of my own career with the AP, mostly abroad, that is a week that just stands out, sadly, because of the news of what happened to Princess Diana, but of the dramatic impact it had on the country and the world. And I can only think of one other person who died that is still remembered almost every year of his death. That was John F. Kennedy.
I remember walking through Kensington Square in the garden there and seeing this, really as far as the eye could see, all of these memorials and flowers and drawings. I remember one vividly from Mumina from the Maldives. That stuck out to me. And they were all just talking about how important Diana was in their life and in the way that they saw the world.